The story of the Nazi gold train is one of the most famous modern legends connected to World War II. It tells of a mysterious train that was said to be filled with gold, jewels, art, and other treasures stolen by the Nazis. According to the legend, this train disappeared somewhere under the mountains of southwestern Poland as the war was coming to an end in 1945. For decades, people have searched for it, hoping to uncover the lost fortune. Although the story has fascinated many and inspired treasure hunters from around the world, no solid evidence has ever been found to prove that the train actually existed. Still, the legend continues to attract attention, mixing real history with myth and mystery. To understand the story, it helps to go back to the final months of World War II. By early 1945, Nazi Germany was losing the war. The Soviet Red Army was advancing quickly from the east, while the Allied forces were pushing from the west. In the chaos, the Nazis tried to move valuable possessions, important records, and stolen art away from the front lines. They feared that the approaching Soviet forces would capture or destroy everything they had taken. During the war, the Nazis had looted an enormous amount of wealth from across Europe. They stole gold bars, jewelry, paintings, sculptures, religious artifacts, and even museum collections. This was part of their effort to fund the war and to claim valuable cultural items for the German Reich. As defeat approached, it is well documented that Nazi officials hid or buried treasures in secret places such as mines, tunnels, and mountain bunkers. This part of the story is completely true. The story of the gold train centers on a region in southwestern Poland called Lower Silesia, near the town of Wałbrzych. Before the end of World War II, this area was part of Germany and was known as Waldenburg. The nearby Owl Mountains were the site of a secret Nazi construction project known as Project Riese, meaning Project Giant. This was a massive system of underground tunnels, bunkers, and chambers built by forced laborers during the war. The Nazis intended to use these tunnels for weapons factories or as secret headquarters. These tunnels, many of which remain unexplored even today, gave birth to rumors that something was hidden there as the Germans retreated in 1945. Locals told stories of trains loaded with treasure entering the mountains and never coming out. Some claimed that the entrances were blown up and sealed after the war to keep the secret safe. Over time, these stories spread, and the idea of a gold train buried somewhere in the mountains began to grow in people's imaginations. The legend likely started soon after the war ended. The region had changed hands, becoming part of Poland, and many new settlers moved into the area. They heard stories from local Germans who remained, some of whom mentioned a secret train that vanished in the final days of the war. Others claimed to have seen German soldiers guarding tunnels and train tracks in the mountains. There were also rumors that high-ranking Nazi officials had ordered treasures to be hidden underground to keep them from falling into Allied hands. Because the Nazis had indeed built complex tunnels in the area, these stories seemed believable. Over time, the tale grew. The train was said to be filled with tons of gold, stolen art, precious stones, and even the legendary Amber Room, a famous Russian treasure lost during the war. The story captured people's imaginations, especially treasure hunters who dreamed of discovering the lost wealth. For many years, the legend remained mostly a local tale, but in 2015, it suddenly gained international attention when two men, a Polish treasure hunter named Piotr Koper and a German partner named Andreas Richter, claimed they had found the lost Nazi gold train. They said they had used ground-penetrating radar to detect a 98-meter-long metal object buried underground near Wałbrzych, right next to an old railway line. Their announcement caused a media sensation. News outlets around the world reported that the fabled Nazi gold train might finally have been discovered. The Polish government even sent military experts to investigate, and one government official said he was 99% sure that the train existed. People in the area became excited, hoping that the discovery would bring fame, history, and possibly even treasure. Treasure hunters, scientists, and reporters all rushed to the site. Hotels filled with tourists. The local economy suddenly boomed as curiosity grew. The story made headlines in every major newspaper, and it felt like the world was about to witness the discovery of a historic treasure. Excavation work soon began at the site, funded by private sponsors and the two treasure hunters. They dug carefully into the ground, expecting to find the train. However, after several weeks of work, nothing appeared. Scientists from the Krakow Academy of Mining and Metallurgy used advanced scanning equipment to study the area. Their results showed that the supposed metal object detected earlier was actually just a natural geological formation, possibly a layer of rock or soil that had reflected radar signals in a confusing way. No train tracks, tunnels, or pieces of metal were found. In the end, the government declared that no train or treasure existed at the site. The story that had excited the world turned out to be based on a misunderstanding. The two men who had made the discovery admitted that they might have misinterpreted the radar images, though they continued to believe something could still be hidden nearby. Most historians and archaeologists now believe that the Nazi gold train is a myth. While it's true that the Nazis hid valuable items during the war, there is no solid evidence that an entire train full of treasure was buried under the Polish mountains. Over the years, many people have searched the area using modern technology, but none have found any trace of a train, tunnel, or treasure. Experts point out that many of the details in the legend are inconsistent. Some versions say the train came from Breslau, now Wrocław. Others claim it came from Berlin or Krakow. Some stories say it carried gold and jewels. Others say secret weapons or documents. These contradictions suggest that the legend was built up from rumors, not facts. Still, it's understandable why people believed it for so long. The chaos at the end of World War II created many mysteries. The Nazis destroyed records, fled quickly, and sometimes hid things to avoid capture. Many treasures truly were lost or buried during that time, such as stolen art and valuables that continue to be discovered even today. Even though the train has never been found, the story continues to capture people's imagination. Every few years, new claims arise that the train has been located, and the legend flares up again in the news. For locals in Wałbrzych, the legend has even become part of their identity. The town has organized exhibitions, tours, and events based on the story. In a way, the gold train has brought more tourism and attention to the area than any real treasure could have. The legend also reflects a deep human fascination with mystery and hope. People love the idea that great treasures might still be hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered. The Nazi gold train symbolizes both the greed and the tragedy of war. Greed because it represents stolen wealth, and tragedy because so much suffering went into creating it. In 2025, the story returned to the headlines once again when an anonymous letter was sent to Polish authorities. The letter claimed to reveal the exact location of 3 train wagons filled with Nazi treasure, supposedly hidden in an underground tunnel near Wałbrzych. It even included maps and witness statements. However, officials have not confirmed any of this information, and they remain cautious. Excavations are expensive and dangerous, and previous searches have found nothing. Despite this, the rumor has reignited excitement among treasure hunters and historians. Some people believe that even if there is no full gold train, smaller caches of valuables could still be hidden in the tunnels built during Project Reese. Others think the entire story is simply a mix of truth and fantasy. A legend that will never die because people want it to be true. The legend of the Nazi gold train teaches us several important lessons. First, it shows how real history and myth can become intertwined. The Nazis did hide treasures, and the tunnels under the Owl Mountains are real. But the specific idea of a single train loaded with gold might have been invented or exaggerated over time. Second, it reminds us of how stories spread, especially when they involve mystery, danger, and the possibility of great reward. Once newspapers and television began to report on the 2015 discovery, the story took on a life of its own. Even when experts proved there was nothing there, many people still wanted to believe. That's the power of human imagination. Third, it highlights the enduring scars of war. Behind the talk of gold and treasure are darker truths. Millions of lives lost, entire cultures robbed of their heritage, and terrible crimes committed by the Nazi regime. For some, the legend of the gold train is not just about hidden riches, but also a reminder of what was stolen from people who never got their belongings back. In the end, the story of the Nazi gold train remains one of history's great mysteries, but it is almost certainly a legend rather than a fact. There is no confirmed evidence that such a train ever existed, and all searches so far have come up empty. Yet the tale continues to inspire curiosity, adventure, and even hope. It's a story where history meets imagination, a mix of truth and myth that reminds us how powerful legends can be. Whether or not a real train filled with treasure lies buried beneath Poland's mountains, the legend of the Nazi gold train has already achieved something lasting. It keeps the past alive, challenges us to think critically about what we believe, and continues to fascinate people all around the world. In that sense, the treasure of the story may not be gold at all, but the mystery itself.